Hey folks, it's Ben Edwards from Life in the Borough. I want to thank you for joining me for this 5-part series featuring each of the candidates running for Whitesboro ISD School Board. I hope each of these videos will give you a little insight into the character and the principles and the issues that are important to each candidate. I've incorporated some of your recommended questions as well as some of mine so we can see where they believe our district stands. But this isn't just about the issues, it's also about getting to know them as people as well. Now, I will say that each of these candidates went out of their way, and many of them changed their schedules to come and spend an hour with me, and thereby spending an hour with you. Those that are willing to serve our community, our kids, sacrificing their time with their families to make our community a little bit better is commendable for sure. And so I encourage you to tune into all 5 and then make an informed decision, an educated decision, either in early voting or on Election Day, May 3rd. So I thank you for being here. I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel and enjoy these videos. Thanks. All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Life in the Borough. I'm your host, Ben Edwards, as always, and today we're meeting with somebody who is running for the school board here in 2025 in Whitesboro, an incumbent. How many terms have you served? 2. 2 terms. So
terms.
just like Michael.
Yes, we both were elected at the same time.
Okay. This is part of a series that we're doing this week. All of these should be released at the same time. So there's 2 incumbents, 5 total candidates running for those 2 seats. And today we have with us one of the incumbents. Please welcome to the program, Shannon Blake.
Hello, welcome. I'm glad I'm here.
Well, we're
so
glad you're
excited.
Here. We appreciate, as I've said to everybody, we appreciate your willingness to serve, your service so far with your 2 terms, but also your continued interest in serving all of us. I got 2 kids in the school district as well, and we appreciate everything y'all do, the decisions y'all have made, and I think the vast majority of people in town are happy with how things are going in the district.
Well, we get paid really well for it.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I remember hearing a lot of stuff on council when I collected that $23 check at the end of the month. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, seriously, we really appreciate it. And also, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us here. I think this is a great opportunity for people to get to know you as a candidate, but more importantly, just you as a person. You know, there's a lot of folks in town. We were talking about this earlier, is that, we have a ton of people in town that are engaged, but we got a lot of people that have that have kids in the district that they're not the folks that are they volunteer for this, or they show up for that, or they serve in this capacity, or they're business owners. They're the folks that live in our town or the surrounding area, that live in the district, and they may not be as connected as a lot of us are, and they don't get to, they know your names, but they may not know who you are, and your backgrounds and why you want to serve and all those things. So hopefully we get a chance to just get to know each other and let the community get to know you better too. Yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
I love that.
Well, thanks for being willing to do it. Okay, so first let's start with this. You have, is it two kids that have gone through the school district, and your youngest just recently graduated, is that correct?
Yes, she graduated in 2020.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I have a 27-year-old. He lives in Sherman, and my 22-year-old bought a house about a mile and a half from me. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
Okay. So when you started serving, you still had a child in the district.
She was a senior, yes.
Okay.
And I chose to run at that time just because I was attending the school board meetings and saw a need and thought, okay, this is my way to serve my community and give back. I don't live inside of the city limits, so serving on the school board was the next way that I could really give back and make an impact in the community.
Yeah, and I don't know that I think there's a lot of people in town that don't realize just how large of an area the district is.
I agree. I hear that a lot where they're like, well, I can't vote on school board. I'm not in the city. I'm like, no, please get out and vote.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, try doing it on the other side and saying, I'm sorry, you
can't
vote.
vote. Right?
You have to live in the city for a council, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us your background. Where are you from?
I am from Michigan. If you can't hear
I
that,
didn't want to say anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've been here 20 years in December. So
Okay.
moved here. Michelle was in preschool, and my son Ryan was in 4th grade. And actually, where we live is in between Collinsville and Whitesboro, and I actually thought we would be attending Collinsville. So I go to Collinsville. We moved in the winter break, and I went to Collinsville to get the kids enrolled in school, and they're like, you're not in the
Oh.
Collinsville school district. I went, oh, okay. Well, we had a couple cousins who all went to Collinsville, and I thought, well, I still kind of want them to go to Collinsville, so they're with their cousins. And Michelle could attend, and Ryan couldn't. So I did not want to have the kids in different school districts, and I think that was just a blessing, because then I came to Whitesboro, and I have loved them being in the Whitesboro School District.
That's cool.
We came to visit the first time. My husband has a lot of family here. We came to visit, and I went, oh my gosh, I should have been born in Texas. I love the weather, I love the people, and I love this town.
So have you lived anywhere else in Texas?
Never anywhere else in Texas.
So where in Michigan are you from?
All right, got to bring up the hand.
Oh, yeah.
Way up here. I was born in Bad Axe and moved up here to Osneek, Michigan.
But that's not the UP.
No.
That's at the top of the...
Right.
Where does the UP end up in the hand?
Up here.
Oh, you do one of those?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me? You'll probably say absolutely not. Do you agree with me that you should just give up the UP to Wisconsin and let them have it?
No, well, that's okay. I can debate that because I love Green Bay Packers, which, wait, that might have just lost me some votes.
Yeah, that's probably not.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
It's not a big Lions rivalry.
Right. I'm a cheesehead all the way.
Oh, wow. So does that mean that your accent was thicker 20 years ago?
I think so, but then I talked to other people, and they're like, you're not from here. You must be from Minnesota or New York.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
You don't have that to you.
Right?
You don't have
I
that.
don't think so. I do say you guys a lot.
Oh, you didn't say y'all?
No, I don't say that very often. I'll be honest, it slips out now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say
Fixin' to?
and I don't I say pop still once in a while. Slips out, and everybody's like, oh, my ears, what was that? So.
Yankee.
Yeah.
So, but Texas, you like the Texas weather better?
Love the Texas weather. The
you
first summer we were here, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to die. And I'm out there going, this is amazing. I don't like to be cold. I don't like my bones to be cold.
So, but that's a huge change.
Huge change. Yeah.
So what did you, forget the first summer, what did you think about our first winter? Were you just laughing at it?
A little bit, but, we had snowmobiles up there and stuff like that. My dad kept saying, I'm bringing a snowmobile down here, and we're going to park in your front yard just to be a piece what people can talk about.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, Dad, bring it down, but I love the weather here. I really do. I'm not afraid of the tornadoes. The hail has not been my friend.
Yeah.
No.
But y'all don't get a bunch of stuff. You get blizzards, and that's it.
Blizzards.
You're in the northern part of Michigan.
Very northern part. And we lived right across the street from Lake Huron, so we got a lot of snow.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
A lot of snow.
We went up across the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah.
So how far is that from you?
Very cool, right? About an hour and a half.
Okay, that's not too far.
Yeah.
Have you been to the island?
Yes, I've been to the island a couple times. And when Michelle was first born, actually, my family from the south came up there, and we went up on a trip up to Mackinac Island. And they loved it. They thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Did you tour the Grand Hotel?
Uh-huh, we did. I've never stayed there, though.
Yeah, so this is totally off topic, but that's what we do on this show. So Mackinac Island is in between the mainland, I guess, what do you call it? Lower Michigan?
Yeah.
The LM?
LM, yeah.
Yeah, and
Lower Peninsula,
and
Upper Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula, yeah. And it's not that big of an island. The Mackinac Bridge is huge, one of the largest in the country, but no cars are allowed on the island.
No cars.
It's horse-drawn carriages and stuff like that. It's so yeah, great area, beautiful area.
Beautiful. My husband loves it there. Actually, he probably would rather be in Michigan here. He hasn't really found his community here.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely have found my community in all areas,
That's awesome.
Church family, work families, Whitesboro families. I love it here.
So tell us what you do. What's your job?
I work for the Sherman Economic Development Corporation. We call it SEDCO. I'm the Vice President of Business Development in Sherman.
So what does that mean you actually do?
I actually help retain and also bring in the big industries. So the Texas Instruments deal, I was there at the end of that deal, and then the Global Wafers $5 billion deal, I was involved in that. Supplying incentives to our existing industries, helping with workforce, just lots of different things. It's really fun, super exciting to be there.
How long have you been doing that?
It'll be 4 years in August. So I'm as soon as I was hired in, actually, I went to interview. I was not looking for a change in job. I was working at the county before that. Grayson County. I was at the county clerk's office.
Okay.
Was there for about 3.5 years. I'll be honest, I was a little bored. It wasn't very fulfilling, and they were trying. They were teaching me all the different aspects of all of the county clerk's office, deeds, records, marriage, license, liquor, permits, and all of that, but it was still not enough. And so I was at a fundraising meeting for Texoma Family Shelter. The president's wife was the director of the Texoma Family Shelter, and I was part of a fundraising board, the 42-bed bash. And I was over at their house, and I was complaining, imagine that, about the county commissioners and the county judge, because I was trying to implement a new software for the agendas and doing all of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, working with the software developer and the county commissioners and the judge, nobody really wanted new software. Who wants new software? So I told them I wasn't going to come to this fundraising, guys. I'm just wiped out. And the president of SEDCO was there, and he goes, what do you do? I said, well, I work for the county clerk's office. I handled the commissioner's court, agendas and minutes. And he goes, are you looking for a new job? I said, I'm not looking, but I'll listen. Went in for my interview, and he goes, it's a really good time to be in economic development in Texas. It's a really great time to be in Sherman.
Right.
And I thought, what does that mean? I mean, I love Sherman, right? Not as much as I love Whitesboro, but don't tell work, right?
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, I shop in Sherman most of the time. I have my doctors there, whatever. You go to Walmart, But I'm like, it's Sherman. Like, why is it so exciting to be in Sherman right now? My first day, I'm all excited, setting my email, checking out my little office, all like, wow, what's next? And my boss walks in and he goes, here, I need you to sign this NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. And I went, what did I get myself into?
Right. Yeah.
And it was the Texas Instruments deal. So I got to be on the final edges of that.
Wow.
Very cool.
It's a big start.
Big start. And we have been super busy and full speed since I have been there. And my coworker and my boss keep saying, it's going to slow down. We're going to slow down. We slowed down for a little bit November, December, probably election, interest rate, supply chain type of things. And I'm like, oh gosh, what are we missing? This is boring. I need more. Let's go. And then all of a sudden January hit, probably mid-January, and projects skyrocketed again. So
it's not slowing down over
it's
there.
not slowing down at all. But Whitesboro's got that coming too.
How long is it until there is no difference between Sherman and Denison?
Well,
and not a whole lot of movement north yet, right?
Right. Not a whole lot, but they have a lot of interesting things coming up in Denison too. And before, with our prior mayor, we didn't have a lot of regional working together with Sherman Denison. The whole world sees us Sherman Denison, right? But so you'll probably see some more momentum now that we have a new mayor in both of those cities that might see some interesting regional efforts coming.
So what parts of your job, either one actually, whether with the county or with SEDCO, what kind of skills do you use when in serving on the board here in Whitesboro for the ISD?
Oh, great question.
Especially, it seems like the numbers going forward with this bond proposal and all of that seems to be somewhat up the alley, trying to build something and get everybody on board and create it in a way that it's an easily digestible, understandable project.
Yes.
Seems like that would all play a role.
Yes, I completely agree. I think that's one of my main assets of continuing on the board for the next, 3 years, is that I do bring in that value of looking at budgets, looking at contracts, reading resolutions, all of that I'm very detail oriented with that. I love money. I love finances. Spreadsheets are my jam. Love spreadsheets. And so
not a lot of people say that.
No. But budgeting and looking at what we have and projecting the future is great. Currently with SEDCO, I also get to work with Sherman ISD with their CTE program, and I would love to be able to work with our CTE program economic developer here in Whitesboro because we can actually do a lot of great things here.
How did you feel about the process of the bond from beginning through the development of it, through the citizen group that you all formed, and then through the vote, and now into implementation of it? How is that describe your thoughts on how that went? Was it what you expected it to be at the beginning? Is the process, but also the end result, the actual product that you ended up with, is it what you had in mind at the beginning, you personally?
Okay. Yeah. Great question as well, because, that process was interesting to see which members of the community came in. They did ask us for feedback, anyone that we thought needed to be in that room to share their feelings and what the Horizon Committee needed. Looking through what we wanted, it would have been great just to say we need a brand new high school, right?
Right.
Because then we could have shifted all the other grades, new high school, lots of room, lots of space. And looking at the financial aspect of that, a high school is a lot of money. And so I was very surprised that we did pass Prop B, the multipurpose facility.
Right.
That was surprising.
It was close.
It was close, but it passed.
Yep.
Having the bond with the Grayson County bond also, I think, was a positive, but also a negative in different ways. I was waiting for people to just go in and check no, right? Because they don't understand what we need here. If you know this area, we have portables up for multiple classes. We need some space. We are using and utilizing every single inch we have. You come to one of our performances and the parents are all crammed together like sardines, you know? So it is warranted. We definitely did need to pass the bond. Now that we have passed the bond, which yay, going through the process of doing the bidding and the construction and all the different contracts, that's been a major learning curve. I'm glad that Aaron Park is on the board to help us with the construction piece and asking those questions. I have reached out to teachers and especially the younger grade teachers to make sure we're getting everything that they need. Like one of the teachers said, we need a bathroom for teachers at every hall.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, but I'm not a teacher. So for somebody to
see that.
share that was really helpful, right?
Sure.
And then looking at the money aspect, it's just, all of the tariffs and that scare and then, the interest rates and everything like that. It's been a learning, but I think it's been good. And now that our bids are coming in and some of them are under, it's really great to hear that multipurpose and early childhood center has been real tough because of the scope of the project. So, yeah.
One of the other candidates mentioned the difficulty of the construction of the roads.
The site plan work is a lot.
And trying to figure out safety aspects there and trying to reroute this and here. And I can't imagine, well, I can.
Yeah, I bet you can. Yeah.
I can, but it does. Yeah, it's not an easy thing. And how do y'all think that you did once you had the two proposals for the election? How did you feel about the way that it was sold? And I mean that obviously it was successfully sold because it passed. But do you feel like the citizens understand what's happening? Do you think that they have a good grasp on what's coming as far as the construction itself?
I don't think so. And from more of the citizens that I talk to, they're like, well, we need this. I'm like, we're getting that. That's what we voted in. We are getting that. Because I had somebody say, well, we need a new ag facility. I'm like,
yeah,
that's part of what was passed. We will have a new ag facility.
Yeah.
So I think that there does need to be a lot more. And I've learned this, with other things too, right? Other boards I've been on, even fundraising boards, oversell, talk, teach, learn, you cannot tell the citizens enough, I don't think.
Yeah, there's definitely some citizens who won't hear it either way. One of the other candidates mentioned that as leaders in town, as people serving on boards, you got to expect to take a lot of flack. You're making decisions for thousands of people, and there's going to be people who are happy about this and upset about this. And part of the job is signing up and knowing that you're gonna get hit with some of that. And we take that on, right?
Yeah, we do, for sure.
But at the same time, I feel like as someone who has played that role, you also get to give it back to them a little bit, and you get to say, look, all right, but you as a citizen, you're the ones influencing our decisions. You're the ones who are actually guiding the town. You're the ones who are making decisions on election day. And you've got to be more engaged and pay attention and know what's going on. So it's on them. The onus is on them as well. And it's the apathy is frustrating, of course. But yeah, like y'all, there's only so many ways you can communicate a message. What's in this package? What are we getting? Why are we doing it? You build websites, you put up this, you have public forums, you have town halls, and nobody shows up. And then they go, what about an ag barn? We need an ag barn.
Right. We're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
agree
to y'all watching,
that
it's
point.
some of y'all too. Yeah. So I don't know that they fully understand it. I think that having the Horizon Committee was good because those are citizens who, have conversations with neighbors and friends and family, and they can say, "Oh no, that is actually in there. That they did recognize that," or that's not in there, and the reason is because of this.
Right, for sure. Yeah, because there are some things that we don't have in there, and
So it sounds like you feel like the proposal, the communication with the public was good.
I do.
Whether they got it or not is them.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Are you happy with what the final product ended up as?
Yes, I am. It took us a while to get there.
Yeah.
We had to really work with WRA, and a lot of the different aspects came back over budget, and we were like,
Tell us who WRA
oh,
is.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they're our architect that's helping us design all of our buildings, and so we got to see some of the design work, and Ryan Harper was very good about saying, don't show us that if we can't complete that, if that's not going to be able to, come through with the money that we have in the bond,
Right.
We don't want to dip into our fund balance a lot. We want to save that money, for other construction projects that we have in mind, or other things that may need to be spent.
When the election day came and went and you realized that both had passed, were you surprised at all? What was your reaction?
Just with Prop B, like I said, that one was a little surprising. I'm super excited for it. I think that this area warrants it. I think that calling it a multi-purpose and making sure that it can serve as many students as possible in different organizations, that it will be a real multi-purpose building.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was the big question, and I think splitting them up is probably a pretty good strategic move. I think that was a good decision on everybody's the great choice to make. What are some of the? Here's a question I'm going to ask everybody, all the candidates. We talk a lot about growth, the coming growth in this area, and whether it's the city or the ISD. I feel like all leaders have to have an answer for that question that seems to come up more than any other, which is this constant back and forth between preparing for growth versus inviting it. And this is an interesting take. I've been waiting to ask you this question, somebody who is in EDC for a community that is exploding. How does one answer that question effectively? Because I feel like it's a balance between realizing that growth is coming regardless versus appearing to be inviting it as if it were something that's that we all want. Because there are plenty of folks in town that do not want that. You know?
Right.
Some people to the extent of pretending it's not happening. And then there are some that go the opposite and just say, I can't wait for it to be here. I'm tired of having to drive to another town. I think most citizens fall somewhere in the middle. They realize it is coming, but they don't want to go out of their way to speed that process up. So how do you address that? Because and this is a tough one, when you pass a $100 million bond, I think to some citizens this was needed, but to other citizens it's like they're pushing us to grow, and that's not necessarily something that we want to do. So how do you balance that? It's a tough. I mean, there's no real like I said with one of the other guys. There's no black and white. It's a gray area. It's just where do we fall in the gray area?
Yeah, it is a very gray area. You're right. Like I said, we already have students in portables though, so we definitely needed the bond to pass so we could have more classroom capacity. With the early childhood center, it'll be nice to have those littles in their own area. I fully think that that'll be a big asset to our area. And then hopefully we can expand the preschool class to have more than just the, 50 to 60 students that right now we can have. So that way more pre-cares can start their education earlier. So as they grow up and go through the school system, they're more prepared and ready for reading and math and all the things that we want to prepare them for. I think that it is coming. Growth is coming. Like you said, I'm in an area that is exploding, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so inviting it and being prepared, that is hard to distinguish for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's going to be the mindset of even not just the school board, but the city council and all of us who are here. I think that Whitesboro does a great job of keeping our little community feeling with our festivals and Peanut Festival and I love our Christmas. I really do. Our downtown Christmas is one of my favorite events.
Yeah.
And so, but being here and having my children grow up here, I love Friday night football and, both my kids were actively involved in the band. And I think we can keep some of those traditions and really just showcase what Whitesboro is and make this town better and, maybe not bigger, but better than what it's ever been.
Do you feel that what we passed in the projects to be done, the new facilities, the additional amenities that we're going to have here, once this project is done, do you feel that it was enough, or was it a Band-Aid? Let's say a Band-Aid. Was it adequate for today, but not adequate for 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
My true feeling is it's adequate for not only today, but, I'm going to say 7 to 10 years. I know that we've got probably some big projects coming through the city. I'm sure, like just Whitesboro or just like Sherman has some big housing and all that coming. But I think that actually the way that we set this up, we will have room to grow and make it easily that we can encompass lots of students in the future. And so I think we're in a really good place. The auditorium, the ag facility, the CTE wing that we can grow into. I'm just super excited what we can offer the students.
What part of this are you most excited about?
Probably the CTE because of my...
Tell everybody what that is, Wayne.
Oh, yeah. Career technology education. And so we have already, we have the ag welding area that now is going to be a full CTE wing. And so we'll have some new bays in there that we can maybe work with the EDC and the Grayson College to see what workforce is coming into our area. And we can see what we want those to be. And we can design it pretty much any way we want. If we think that we need automotive, we can make automotive. If we think we need woodworking, if we need an electronical engineering program, which would be my push based on my experience. But, we'll see what that comes down the line because we need teachers to teach those as well, So...
Do you feel that I guess retention's not too big of an issue at the moment, but bringing in new teachers to fulfill these larger classrooms, is that going to be a struggle for the town?
I'm hoping not, because Whitesboro does have a really great reputation. We treat our teachers very well. And so I'm hoping that that's known around the area and we can recruit some really good qualified teachers because we are going to gain some classrooms, right? I mean, with that EEC, Early Childhood Center. And so acronyms, we love acronyms.
Right.
So we are going to need new teachers, right, to go down and fill all those classrooms. So, but I think that we have a good reputation here.
Will the Early Childhood Center, will that have an entire... Will that be under the umbrella of the primary school, or will it be its own facility with its own admin staff, principal, all of that?
Yes, it will be its own. It'll have a principal in that building as well. We may share a vice between two schools. That's been talked about.
Okay.
So we'll see what that looks like. Don't know if we'll need a full, counselor, nurse.
Right.
We may be able to utilize some of our other staff.
So this will be basically 5 totally separate independent campuses.
Correct. Yes.
This is interesting.
Very interesting.
So I think the one thing that a lot of parents don't quite get is that by adding the Early Childhood Center, it's allowing younger students than we currently allow in the classroom. So right now we can have preschool that starts at 4 or 5?
Yeah.
4, I think.
4.
Maybe 5. I don't know. My youngest is in kindergarten, and she's 5.
5.
So I get, yeah. So, but how this? What's the youngest somebody can be there, and what's the criteria? Tell me what you know about this.
Well, so far we haven't exactly, filled all those requirements yet, depending on when we get up and going.
Okay.
Because of the site plan, honestly, we may not be open as quick as we thought. We're going to
Okay.
see how that goes. At the last school board, we did not approve all of that bidding yet, or we didn't approve the bid. So that may have pushed us back for scheduling a little bit, but we did that strategically and financially. We want to make sure we get in correct bids before we push forward and decide who our construction company is going to be. And so we do have 4 wings. It kind of looks like a butterfly. So it'll be pre-K, kindergarten, first and second. And so it can house, I could open my notes,
Yeah.
but but we should be able to have a lot more students in those areas in each one to have its own wing, and then the library in the middle. So it's kind of like a core to that school.
So it's still providing for all the students that we currently have, plus slightly younger.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there going to be? Do you know whether or not there's going to be specific criteria for who can be in that?
I'm sure that there
Is it
will be, just
just
like
open?
pre-K, right? I
Right.
mean, our pre-K, we have some criteria on that because we have limited spots.
Right.
And so depending on how many spots we have, how many teachers we have, I'm sure there will be some criteria that we put into place.
Do you know whether or not pre-K, as it currently exists, will be expanded to become more like kindergarten?
Should be, yes. That's
Okay.
been the discussion, because we want to be able to have lots of kindergarten pre-Kers in there. So
Right.
should expand more like a kindergarten.
How has this whole thing, and I'm going to get into politics here, but how has this whole thing with the Department of Education impacted y'all? I know that at one of the last meetings, it was said that we don't have a ton of federal funding as it is, and so it won't be a major impact. But it's got to be a little bit of an impact if all that plays out as it appears to. Has there been discussion about that? How much?
There hasn't been a lot of discussion because, like you said, up here, I don't think it's going to affect Whitesboro as much as it will some other bigger schools south of us.
Right.
And so, I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out. I don't think it's going to have a major effect.
Okay. Other than the planning and of the bond itself and the whole process from beginning to end, from when it was first discussed all the way through piecing it together, finding out what it's going to look like, bringing the public in to play a role there, and then through the process of the election and now implementation. Prior to all of that, you've been there for 6 years. What were your biggest challenges or successes in that time period prior to leading up to this moment where the bond thing begins?
Yeah, great question, because I wasn't on the school board when the last bond passed. So this is my first run at a bond and all of this. I'm going to say COVID, right? I went through being on school board during COVID, and that was a lot of major decisions trying to find out what was best for teachers and students. And then we've had other with TEA requirements, STAR testing, that kind of stuff that we always deal with, funding issues because of the COVID money and where that was going to go and how we could use that money. And so those have been some of the issues that I can think of off the top of my head that I've gone through and dealt with being on the school board, right?
Are you happy with how all those have turned out?
Those actually, yes. I mean, when we first made the decision about masks and bringing the students back and all that and trying to pull the data and what we should do responsibly, it was a little scary making those decisions. But I think in the end, we did a good job making those decisions and looking at what was best for students and teachers,
Here's the question. I ask you about the past and things that you've done prior to this. What do you think the biggest challenges are going to be once you all are done with this bond? Once this stuff is being built and a lot of the public starts to see and understand what's being done. Once we're nearing the end of that, what's the next hurdle? What's the next thing that is on the horizon that's going to be the next challenge for the ISD and for the board?
Probably some hiring, right? And we've dealt with some hiring and firing issues and, already, but I think more hiring will probably be a concern. The talking in discussion about a 4-day school week. That may come up again because we always bring that up. What classes we should expand to and have for especially our high schoolers.
Right.
Of course, we have those pathways that we have to get our kids to start at in middle school, right? So that way they have their path for career, college, military readiness that we have to watch. Probably, of course, there's always sports, athletics, and, maybe some grumble about bringing in new sports. And I think that would be a great idea, honestly.
Yeah, we had somebody online suggest that we ask y'all about bringing in soccer. It's a very popular sport.
Sure is. And now that we have the Texoma FC right in Sherman, I mean, maybe it's a great time for us to do that.
Didn't know anything about that.
Oh.
I did know that y'all had a baseball team.
Right. Though. There's also a really, really popular soccer team, too.
Does that stand for football club?
I don't really know what it stands for. I haven't been to a game yet.
Oh. Where do they play?
At the practice field in Sherman, right off of 75.
I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah. It's supposedly super popular.
Who else is in this league? Who do they play against?
There's like eight of them that are in the league for soccer. So, I want to give all our students as much opportunity as possible. So for me, I'm like, why not try it,
So what are the reasons it's not there? What's the big complaint? Why hasn't it been done?
I think that they're worried. They is who knows who, right?
Right.
Like that it may take away from other extracurricular activities, right? Maybe it'll pull away from football, band.
You pull athletes away?
Possibly. Maybe that's their concern. I don't know what a soccer season looks like, honestly. I don't know if it bumps up against track. I have no idea. But I think we should go for it. I mean...
Let's talk 4-day school week. So S&S went to 4 days. I believe Collinsville went to 4 days this year. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, lots of our surrounding schools are going to that 4-day.
I talked to somebody who will remain nameless who said that one of the concerns is that if we go to 4 days, one of their concerns was that I want to make sure that
Are you quoting here?
No.
Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I'm doing my best to paraphrase well. That they were concerned that the students on that weekday would not have adequate resources, whether it be lunch or, they felt that by having the students in school that they were being better cared for than they would be if they were elsewhere.
I could agree with that for sure. Especially in Whitesboro, I know that school is a lot of these students' safe place. It really is. They get support, they get food, they get assistance emotionally and, lots of ways by their teachers or administrators. And so I definitely feel that in Whitesboro.
What are the other reasons along with that one that would be a reason to not implement that here?
For me, I just think that our students need to be in the classroom the 5 days for educational purposes. You can see the data has already been coming back that they lose a lot of what they've learned if we only do a 4-day school week. And so I think that they need to be in school. Certain teachers I've talked to have said, we have a hard enough time to get them to go from Friday to Monday and bring back their assignments or their signed piece of paper, let alone do 3, have that 3-day week. I mean...
Where do you think the consensus, I won't ask you about the board, but where do you think the consensus is for a 4-day week amongst teachers? Do you have a good feeling of the pulse of where that is?
I feel like I do. And from most of the teachers that I've talked to, and I've pride myself in actually reaching out and talking to teachers, that most of them agree that they want to stay the 5-day school week. And of course, we have quite a few 4-day weeks anyway, based on the way the school calendar's written, if you look at it.
Yeah, it's basically every third week that there's either, I think it's usually a Monday, is that right? Usually a Monday, sometimes a Friday off.
Yeah.
And it coincides with a lot of the holidays as well, which I think is pretty good. We got a 4-day weekend going on right now.
Right. And then we don't want to be in school any longer, right? We have to add those minutes somewhere.
Sure.
And
Yeah, so
we have a longer
when did we
school
move
day.
to minutes? Because this was not a thing when I was a kid.
No, it wasn't when I was either. I think if I remember right, that was 3 years ago that we went to the minutes. And so, yeah, we go by minutes now.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know, right?
Can't we just skip lunch and
Just-
then take the last 2 weeks off?
There we go. I don't know.
Just work through lunch?
I get hangry. I don't know about most of those students might get hangry too. We might not want that.
Yeah, my kid would not do well without lunch. Okay, so it sounds like you're not in favor of this.
Not in favor of that.
Um,
Besides, also the parents who work, right? Like, what do they do with their student on that
I get it.
day off if they don't have family or I don't know.
So how are SNS families and Collinsville families doing it?
I don't know. I don't live in either one of those. I
But-
think that one of them offers a daycare type of situation or looked into that. I don't know if they fully implemented it.
So your kids still have to come, but they're not learning anything?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that could work. I don't know. That's not going to work here. Let's just keep it the way we have it.
Have y'all had feedback from the public in our district from parents about the 4-day week?
We did a survey. What was that? 2 years ago, we pulled the survey. I think.
don't remember that.
There was talk about us doing another survey,
Mm-hmm.
and so we will survey if the buzz keeps going around that we feel like it would be valuable to reach out, and we'll do a survey and see what the feedback is from parents and teachers.
Yeah, but take my advice. Don't ask the kids.
Don't ask kids.
No.
Will they go 4-day?
I
Would your kids say that?
Probably overwhelmingly 95% would say.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
No, I was one of those kids who wanted to be in school.
Oh, no.
Yes.
It's 2025. None of the kids want
None
to be
of the
in
kids
school.
want to be in school.
My oldest is a great student, but I mean, she wants to stay home.
She does?
Of course.
No way.
My youngest can't wait to go back to school, but I think that's just her teacher, Mrs. Riley, who is just
Great shout out.
Yeah, the end all be all for my youngest.
See?
But she's 5 and she doesn't know better yet, right? Soon she'll be like, I'm not going to school.
I'm going to hang out at home.
So tell me the results of this survey that y'all did a couple of years ago. I didn't know about this.
Yes, it was overwhelmingly that we wanted to stay with a 5-day school week. And so that's why we move forward with that and why it hasn't kind of gotten traction again or gotten legs to do anything different.
Okay, so I want to ask you about what the consensus is amongst the board, but I will ask, can you share what the consensus on the 4-day week is with the administration? Have they vocalized what they want, where they stand on it?
I think that they lean towards the way I do, that we kind of have we call it a hybrid model, right? That's
Right.
what Mr. Harper would say. It's a hybrid. We have lots of 4-day school weeks. And so I think that the consensus is that we stay the course. It's working.
Yeah, I tell you this. I think it's whether or not the 4-day week is an eventuality or it may not be implemented here. But I can tell you this is that I do really like the day off here and there. And one of the things is that when my kids get a little burned out, from school, it's easy for them to say, okay, I can finish this week and next week, and then I get a 3-day weekend. It's something to look forward to. I get a little extra time. It's like they can see a break coming.
I agree. I mean, I'm like that
I'm
at
sure
work,
the teachers are
right?
like that too.
And at work, even I
Yeah.
had Good Friday off, and I was like, okay, let's go. We can make it till
Yeah.
Friday, and then I get a 3-day weekend, which is nice
Um,
and more realistic in the real world when you go to work, right?
yeah.
I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
let's
Well,
just
you
set
never
our
know
kids
because
up for success.
hey, listen. By the time that these kids are graduated, everybody might be 40. We
Or
might be
TikTok
France by that
stars,
point.
right?
TikTok stars, yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing is you have to meet the needs of what's going on, but you don't have to jump on the bandwagon with the hot new thing. Everybody's going to 4 days, so we got to 4. If it's not best,
Right.
If it's not the best decision, we can't do it just because it's But at the same time, you have to balance that with: is this actual progress? Are we seeing the result?
Right.
Does it? It's a classic thing with me. Is it something that feels good or something that does good?
Right.
I only want to do things that do good.
Right. The results, right?
Right.
And I think that that's what we're going to see, especially as more data rolls out, is that
So are y'all kind of using SNS and Collinsville as guinea pigs to see how?
I don't know if we want to call them guinea pigs, but we are kind of watching and seeing what happens, and just making sure we don't lose too many of our teachers to one of those schools close by, right?
Yeah. Is that the teachers? So the teachers are those that are against it, it's because they feel like the students need to be there. But isn't there a draw for them to want a 4-day week as well?
Oh, I'm sure, right? Yeah, a little bit.
Do you feel like you're not getting totally honest feedback if they're coming forward and saying, it's good for the kids, when in actuality they're like, this would be nice.
This would be nice.
But would it be like an in-service thing where they would have to come in on those days? Not necessarily all of them, but or do they get them off too?
The discussion is that they would get them off too, which I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But, we ask so much of our teachers, and we do. I mean, I respect every teacher that's out there, love teachers, because they pull a lot of work, right? And so I bet that even if we had a lot of 4-day school, if we went to 4-day, we'd probably still see a bunch of teachers up there.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Right.
One of the teachers was out on their day off this week taking photos for the kids' graduation.
See?
If you wanted to show up, they were there. Man, there's a ton of people like that
There
in
is.
our ISD. One of the reasons we're big supporters of the ISD.
For sure.
I'm a big fan. And a lot of that has to do with y'all's decisions and the decisions of previous board members as well. In our time here, we've been here 6 years, and we love the direction that it's going. I think that my personal view on the bond, I haven't said anything about the bond publicly.
Your
but
turn now.
I will say that I think that it was overwhelmingly clear that it was needed. I think that everything is way overpriced for every single ISD. And even though that is the going rate for this type of building, I don't like it. I don't understand it. Nobody likes it. Nobody understands it, but that's what it is. I'm glad that we made the decision. Y'all made the decision to do what you did, adding a little bit to each campus, alleviating that and reshaping it a bit rather than just building another high school, because there were issues at all the campuses. And so I think that was a smarter way to handle it. I think that y'all did a good job selling it. I think that those who wanted to find out about it and to learn about it did a good job, and were able to communicate that. So do I want to pay for it? Absolutely not.
Who wants to pay for anything, right?
Right. Is it needed? Absolutely. When you're using closets for classrooms and offices, that's...
And you're not exaggerating. That's what's being done.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's too far.
Yes.
And I would hope that as we move forward, even though this is a huge expense, I mean, this is, compared to like $1 billion that one of the towns south of us has proposed, $100 million is a lot of money, but it's not a lot compared to others. But as I also said, it's not a race to see who can spend the most.
Right.
We just need to buy what we need and do it in a frugal but responsible but adequate way. And then we need to get behind it, and then we need to immediately then look toward the future and see what goals we are going to have 10 years from now, 12, 15 years from now, and figure out what we need to do to start getting ready for that.
Yes, yes. I would say that we're using every square inch possible as we're designing and, looking at architect, looking at all of it, every square inch. Just was able to tour another school this week because I went down for some school board training. Was that Wednesday? That was Wednesday. I went down for school board training. We toured the new school and their new CTE wing, and there's so much wasted space. And I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, not even space where they could recapture it as a classroom. It was just like, what is that?
Yeah.
We are not doing that with any of the bond money or the design, just saying.
Yeah, that's another careful balancing act there. You want to build something that people can be proud of, that is symbolic of your town, but at the same time, there's no reason to overindulge.
Yeah, be extravagant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need extravagant. We need productive.
Yeah, and safe, right? We want some safety features included that some of our other campuses did not have to the, to the standard they should be nowadays. And so,
What are some of those? Can you tell us any of those?
I mean, for instance, at the high school, when we put on the new CTE wing and the auditorium, it will be all enclosed. So that way, there'll be a fence. So that way the students can use that outdoor area, but also be safe,
Yeah.
And so also, we're taking away some of the parking. So you still have to add parking. So there'll be, 400 new parking spaces.
Yeah.
You still have to pay for parking. You have to pay for concrete.
That's true. Yeah, you definitely have to pay. You have to pay for concrete.
Right.
It ain't cheap.
And not one of the fancy things you want to pay for.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a necessary thing to get that. And the roads as well to get to it. It's going to be a complete revamp of the whole area. I mean, it's going to end up. It's almost going to. It's college campus-esque.
Yeah, it is.
To an extent.
To an extent, I agree with that statement.
With that whole area. Right,
Yeah.
Right now, we think of it as 4 different unique campuses.
Yeah.
Right. And even though 3 are on the same street, they all have their own separate areas. And now it's going to feel more, especially the area by the high school, it's going to feel like one little community there.
Right.
And I guess for safety's sake, that's a good thing. I'll tell you this, though. I grew up, my house was directly across the street from my elementary school.
So was mine.
Really?
Really?
So I could look out my front window, and it wasn't like a big street. It was a residential street.
We were in a little subdivision.
Yeah, okay. And I could look out my front window of my living room. I could be watching TV and turn to my left and see my playground.
Yeah.
And I could walk across the street and swing at my swings at my elementary school. It would take me 10, 15 seconds to walk over there and play basketball court and all of that. And then I drive by the intermediate school here, and I see that playground and I see that fence all the way around.
Yeah.
Now I get it, but I don't know. I mean, when I was a kid, it was the 80s.
And kind of open
and it was wide open. We played out there all the time.
So did I.
That was our football field, our soccer field.
Uh-huh.
Why do we have to get away from that?
Yeah.
Why can't
it just be open and accessible?
Why can't we have a gate so we can go in and play?
In there? I think that we need to bring that up and see if
Vandalism.
that would be I was going to say it's going to be vandalism issues, of course, because we do have some of those problems. But I could see where possibly we put up some cameras and, maybe that could be more of a bring back the community feel also at the same time, right? But Whitesboro does have some really cool parks.
We do.
Where when I grew up, I didn't have a cool park. The school was the park.
Exactly.
Where now in Whitesboro, we have some great parks you can go to. And so maybe that's not as needed.
Okay, so I'll challenge you on this one.
Okay.
This is a minor point, but I'm going to challenge you anyway. So let's say that you live over on Hall.
Okay.
Across from the school.
Yeah.
Where's the closest park to you?
True, yeah. That one you would have to go over to.
You go down to Tot Lot or over to, you have to go over to Trollinger.
Trollinger. That's where I was thinking, Trollinger.
That's a bike ride.
It's a
no
bike
big
ride,
deal, but it's a long walk.
Right. Where you have the school right there. Okay, that's a challenge. All right. I'm with you.
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a reason.
Right?
Well, I'm sure it's a safety thing because the kids are playing there during the school day.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. You don't want them running off into the street. But, I don't know. Maybe we have a gate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
got to be a reason for it.
There's got to be something.
This is why I have no interest in the school board. Because I'd come up with the minor stuff like that, and people would look at me like, we got things to actually get done.
We got bigger things, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway. I enjoyed going across the street and swinging at my playground.
I did too, now that you brought it up.
I'm sure that...
nostalgia coming back from me and my brothers and sisters going over there. Yeah.
Was it too cold to play in Michigan across the street at the park?
Only 8 months out of the year.
I don't know how you do that.
No, it was awful.
Do you ever go back to visit?
I do. My best friend still lives there.
Really?
And my sister lives up there, and my mom and dad are still there. And I probably shouldn't say this because mom and dad might hear, but, that's one of the main reasons why I like being in Texas. Leave mom and dad up in Michigan.
So when my wife she grew up in Plano, when she went to school at TCU in Fort Worth, and so she said that she loved the fact that it was close enough to where if there was an emergency or something, she could get back home in an hour. And her parents could visit on the weekends. But there was enough distance to where she could have her own life, right?
See that?
And that's great. But you, however, somehow needed like 1,800 miles.
Right, yeah. 1776, honestly.
Hey, I did pretty
right?
good,
Yeah,
right?
That was real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful area of the country,
It
though. You
is.
got to go back to visit, right?
It is beautiful. All
Um,
right. I
yeah,
got a
You got to
fun
go.
fact. You ready?
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah?
I thought she was going to say, because
Well, I was going to say, do you want to know what I did in Michigan?
like as a job?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
Yeah? Me
What?
and my husband owned a bar.
No.
Yes.
Really?
See? Fun fact.
Tell us about this.
Well, so we owned a bar for 10 years. It was over by one of the manufacturing companies. And so it started out as a manufacturing bar. My husband purchased it. And then we got married a year and a half after he purchased it. And we owned a bar for 10 years.
So,
Would never have guessed, would you?
no, not at all.
No.
Were you a bartender?
I was.
Really? Did you learn it? Like on the job training?
On the
Did you go
job
to training?
No. I did on the job training. And really, it was a beer and whiskey bar. It wasn't like a fancy martini bar, right? So, I mean, but I make a really good Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Okay, so what did people want that you didn't have?
Usually a martini, like I said.
Really?
Yeah. Once in a while that would come through and we're like, or a Manhattan. We're like, really?
A Manhattan?
Here, have a Bud Light.
Yeah. So it was blue collar.
Yeah. Very blue collar. Yes.
How many square feet was this place?
It was 1,800 square foot, long and skinny though.
Okay.
It was like a shoebox.
So like a downtown business here.
Yes.
How many people could you fit in there?
Really?
How many people were you legally allowed to fit in there?
I was like, 252
Really?
legally.
How many did you get in there?
A lot more than that, especially on the biggest bar night of the year is the day before Thanksgiving.
What? Why?
Because people come home to see their families and they're like, yeah, I need to
Oh,
drink
I can't
before
deal with my. Oh, wow. I never thought of that.
So, yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Maybe we should have an event at Cook's.
Right?
It's the night
Night
before
before
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Get away from your family.
Right?
Come and hang out with us.
Yep.
Okay, so most popular drink? It's beer.
Just beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had pool leagues and dart leagues, you
Really?
know, all
How
that
are
kind
you
of
at
stuff.
pool? Are you any good?
Not really good, no.
No, you're too busy working.
Too busy working.
Do you have-
And I just,
Do you have music, bands, a
we
jukebox?
had bands once in a while, jukebox all the time, but
Really?
bands once in a while up in the little front corner.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
So what type of area was this in? You said it was in like a...
It was like off of the downtown main business, but down one of the side streets and in front of one of the manufacturing plants. And so, but we were a motorcycle bar. We were a biker bar.
Any good fights?
That was one of the main reasons why it was time for us to leave.
Oh, wow. You became a hub of crime.
It was, I know how to move a 300-pound man with my fume out the door. Yep.
A biker bar.
Biker bar. Yeah.
Now, do you ride motorcycles?
We used to.
Yeah?
Yep.
And you
So-
gave it up because...
Just busy with kids and kids' activities, you know, and just no time.
Do you miss any aspects of this?
None.
Not a single one?
I don't think so. No.
Was it profitable?
It was profitable. Very.
Yeah?
Yes.
What do you make the most money on? Shots?
Jukebox.
Shut up.
Right?
What?
It's all cash.
No way. Are you serious?
So
The
no,
jukebox.
you know. We also did food. We did burgers and
Okay,
you
so
know,
who
bar
cooked?
food.
Did you have cooks?
No, you did it all when you worked there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you can mix a drink
Yeah.
and you can also cook a burger.
Make a dang good burger, yeah. But that's about it for cooking. I realize I don't really like to cook.
Oh, really?
No.
Do you still use any of the skills you learned there when you cook at home?
No. Not really.
Nothing.
No.
Did you break up fights between your kids by using that 300 man-pound method?
No, I have some really great kids. If anybody knows my kids, I just have two really great kids. It's amazing.
I did not know that.
I know
That-
I took you off on a whole new
that's-
area where your
that's what
brain's
this
going, wow.
Yeah, that makes me want to ask 10,000 questions.
Right.
We're gonna
That
have
might be part
a
2
separate
interview with
show.
Shannon.
That's right, yeah. So when you go to a bar, are you like super judgy
I don't go to bars very often, honestly.
because you're a
Kinda just
respected
had my
member of the city
fill.
now, right?
Nah, I just kind of had my fill, and
Really?
I think, yeah,
Huh. If you go to a bar, what do you order?
Mick Ultra,
Really?
wine,
Simple.
simple.
Okay. Yeah.
I like a really good margarita, right? But a lot of bars,
Where's the
they got a mix, right? And
Yeah, it's always the mix.
Yeah.
Just make it from scratch.
Right.
And people will come back.
Right.
Right? Did
Yeah.
y'all make it from scratch? Did y'all didn't do margaritas?
We
then?
did, and we made it from scratch.
Really?
Yeah.
I just don't feel like there's probably a large consensus of the people in Michigan wanting margaritas.
A margarita, no.
Do they mispronounce Texas words?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's
They're
some.
not saying I want a plate of Vegetas.
No.
And you have to say corn or flour tortilla.
No.
Right?
But when we go to Michigan and my daughter goes, because we moved here when she was 4, we go up there and she wants a sweet tea. And when they're like, here we have sweet, she's like, what is wrong with this place?
Yeah, I think Paul Queen was here last week. We were talking about food. I don't remember if it was on the show or after, but my wife and I we were in Virginia or North Carolina or someplace, and we went to a Mexican restaurant. It was like the only place in town that was open, some small little town. We sat down and we're like, this is gonna be interesting. Tex-Mex, right?
Yeah.
In North Carolina, we ordered fajitas, and they brought the fajitas out, and I opened it up. They were open, like open face fajitas.
Okay.
And it had the only vegetable on it was steamed broccoli. And we were like, oh,
what
gosh,
did they
get out of here.
do?
We were once in Toronto.
I mean, I like broccoli, but
Yeah. We were once in Toronto and saw a restaurant in downtown Toronto that said authentic Texas barbecue. And I was like, nah,
no way.
there's no way.
Did you try it?
Of course not.
No.
No way.
Yeah.
That's just a waste of money.
Right.
It's a waste of an afternoon is
Yeah.
what that is. So no, we're not
Exactly.
doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to business.
Yeah, let's go back. Yeah.
All right. So we got a few minutes left. Tell me this.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to over the next 3 years if you're reelected?
I guess my main thing is just to make sure the bond goes through and the money gets spent the way that we told the taxpayers it would. And so I'm looking forward to just seeing that project all the way through and seeing these buildings go up and making sure that it's being used and utilized the way that the taxpayers wanted it to. Because like you said, nobody wants to pay for this, but we all voted it in. So
Yep.
we have to be really responsible with the funding.
Being involved with the EDC, I'm sure that you have seen plenty of projects that is exactly what was expected, ends up as the final product. But then I'm sure that you've seen a lot that things change. How concerned are you that that's going to happen, whether you're there or not? Is this something that how much control do you all have to make sure that the product that you get is the product that you expected?
Just to ask the questions and be involved in the whole process. And so that's why I feel like since I've been there since the beginning, it's really good that I'm there to ask those questions. Go, wait a minute, this was not in that first design, or we talked about adding this many square inches, feet, whatever it is, or making sure that bathroom is on every hallway type of details that I'm privy to because I've been in the conversations.
How has the process been so far? With that,
it's been challenging. I mean, because of all the bids coming back and over budget, and we're like, no, that's not what we said. That's not the scope of the work that we claimed.
Yeah.
So that multi-purpose building has been the hardest one in my opinion because that one was way over budget at first, and so currently it is back in budget, and we're proud of that. And we have enough yardage on that football field that the band can utilize it, and that was one of my main goals that I wanted to make sure happened.
So if I'm right, I think I remember it being initially discussed as an 80-yard field. Is that correct? And now it's changed, correct?
It's an 80-yard field now.
Oh, it is?
Yes. We need to go 20-yard line to 20-yard line for our
Right.
band to be able to use it.
Okay, so that hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed.
I thought I may have been wrong there. I thought I heard that it had changed. That's good.
that
'cause I think
that was
that's
the
huge.
change, I think. It was going to be full football field.
Okay.
But for the project and the budget to come in, we did go to 20 by 20. We talked to the band directors to make sure that would still work.
Right.
We have an amazing band and they need to be able to use that space. We won't have a grid anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you accomplish just like the softball program.
Yes.
When you accomplish as much as we have done with the band, with cross country, those, everybody loves football. Football
Right.
is king.
Well,
I get that.
we are in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. However, when you have other programs, whether it's academic, extracurricular, sports related, athletics, if you are succeeding on the statewide level, as we have been on these things, individual sports as well as team sports, that requires moving up the totem pole of importance. you have to support that, and it needs to get the same recognition as all the other things that we give that recognition to.
For sure.
And
We do very well at UIL as well, right? We
Yeah,
have some
that's true.
great teachers that do those UIL events with our students, and it's exciting when we get to see those students and honor them. That's probably one of my favorite things is when we get to honor the UIL events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like the way you say honor.
See, I have a few words that still come out very
Yeah.
northern,
Northern.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
like oil.
Oil. Well, I can't do the Texas
No,
oil.
oil. Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Or boiled.
Yeah. There's right and then there's ridiculous.
Right.
You know, there's everyday colloquial speech and then there's just lazy.
Right.
Oil. Let's just say oil. How do we feel about the current school budget? This is asked by here, we'll bring this up.
Okay.
Yeah, this is asked by one of the people. We reached out. I don't know if you know. We reached out and asked some questions. What do people want to ask? Sam Redfern Jr. asks, how do they feel about the current school budget? Is it sustainable as is, or do changes need to be made? I guess this is a discussion of outside the bond issue, just on
Just regular school budget.
on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah, no, this is one of in my wheelhouse. I love budgets. I like to, when we review the budget and we do the audit process, I love it. So we are on track and doing well with our budget. That's actually very fiscally responsible. And we have Ryan Harper and Ryan Prock to thank for that. Audit's one of my favorite things to go into and listen to our auditor, see how many days we have in fund balance and how we're doing. I don't know if most people know this, but we have in our budget that we can do 2 new buses a year in our fleet. That way we keep our buses up to where we need them to be and we can rotate them out. And so I'm actually very proud of our budget the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sustainable? I hope so. We'll have to see how this voucher issue comes to play. Don't think it's going to be a major factor for Whitesboro, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, right?
When will we find that out? When do you think that we'll start seeing which way that's going to go?
I think that we'll start talking about it this year in budget to make sure that we're on track, but I don't think that we'll see a major effect probably for 2 years.
What do you think about this question? Can schools be a cell phone free zone, a no cell phone zone?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that some of our classrooms are no cell phone. I don't know if discussion has been about the entire school.
Yeah, from what I gather, and I may be incorrect here, so don't quote me, but from what I can tell is that we have a somewhat of a policy, or at least unwritten policy, that at the lower levels, no cell phones in the classroom. I think they can keep them in their backpacks. That kind of thing. However, at the high school level, I think they can have them out as long as they're not disrupting the class, something like that.
Right. And I know that the teachers can discernment for when they can take them away from students if they are a distraction. So I think that would definitely warrant a conversation. I think we would need to also talk to our teachers, right? I don't know how many of them let their students utilize their phones for
right
classroom instruction, direction, research. I don't know. That would definitely be a discussion with teachers.
Yeah, that's one of those things you kind of just have to get a lot of feedback before
Right.
you can even realize.
Right.
And sometimes you start to do that and you say, oh, this actually isn't an issue.
Right.
It's a perceived issue. It might be an issue for a handful of people, but across the board, this isn't something that is a major thing.
Yeah, it doesn't warrant policy or a new rule, right?
Right.
Right.
And sometimes things are best left alone if they're working.
Right.
Don't fix it if it ain't broken. But yeah, I mean, every issue that's brought up by a parent is probably something that you should at least look into and say, hey, is this really a problem?
Right. And we do, even if
Yeah.
on the outside the parents don't always see
Yeah.
that, right?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, we do discuss every issue that comes across and decide our next steps.
What about this one? This is a tough one here. This is, how are they going to enforce a no bullying policy? And if the principal, where it is, here we go. And if the principal or vice principal doesn't hold up their end of the deal, will there be punishments for that? I don't know what the,
Oh, that is a tough one.
I'm
'cause
not familiar with the actual bullying policy.
Yeah, we do have a bullying policy. Don't know how I would say yes, that definitely the principal and vice principal need to be held accountable if they don't follow through with what the policy is and if they actually are aware of the bullying. I think sometimes it doesn't come that far. We don't know what's going on if a parent doesn't bring it to the proper chain of command, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be made aware of those situations.
Yeah. The proper chain of command is a big deal, both in ISD, council, everything.
Right.
You got some folks that will call you directly and say, you're on the board, you deal with this.
Right.
And you're like, no, you got to go through the right chain of command. And then on the other hand, you have some people who never inform anyone of the issue. They just go and complain about it. It's like, well, you didn't even give us a chance.
To
Y'all
correct it.
Y'all get that too, I
We
assume?
get that a lot, yeah. And I also, if they want to come to me and I say you need to go through the proper chain of command, and they're like, well, I don't feel comfortable doing that, I will go with them.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to go with them, sit down.
Yeah, there's a reason that they're calling you.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't. Both of those situations, they may very well have a justification for wanting a problem solved, or
Right.
at least that you know about it. You know.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come to you because they feel like they can't go to the proper chain of command for some reason or another.
Right.
And then, walking them through that process and being there as an advocate, or at least somebody who's willing to stand there with them and while they make their case, right or wrong. You
For
know?
sure. Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do. These are good answers, I think. I don't know. I will admit that I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old in the system, and I haven't really dealt with bullying issues yet. But I'm sure that that's coming as kids get older.
Right. And kids are mean.
Yeah, that usually hits when they get a little older. I guess it starts for some at this age, and it probably goes through most of their high school years. So I don't have any personal experience with that. And so I don't know how big of an issue is that in town.
I don't get a lot of calls about the bullying, so I'm grateful for that. I mean, I'm not blind to that happens. Realistically, I know that kids are mean, like I said. So, but neither one of my kids experienced bullying here in Whitesboro, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know how they got through. You know, Michelle was here from pre-K all the way to, graduating, and then Ryan was here in 4th grade on. You would think him being an outsider from Michigan, we might have dealt with some bullying. And we didn't deal with any bullying.
Well, how was his accent? That's the question.
Right? He had more of one than my daughter. My daughter, nobody even knows she's from Michigan.
Really?
Really. It's gone.
I teach students online, and I teach students all over the country. And half of them don't realize I'm from Texas.
See?
And every once in a while, I'll say y'all or ain't, and I shouldn't, because half the time I'm a reading tutor, so that's not good. But I warn them in advance that they might hear an ain't.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know that I have quite the Southern accent that a lot of folks around here do.
I don't hear one, but I don't hear a lot of accents. It's really funny.
Yeah.
I don't.
We hear yours.
Yes.
So you said you're mostly excited about getting through this process and seeing it to its completion.
Yep.
What else do you have on your own personal checklist of things you'd like to accomplish or see accomplished by you or the board? Not agenda items necessarily, but what else do you want to do?
I don't mind the word agenda, right? We all do kind of have an agenda. I don't want to say a personal agenda, but my agenda is making sure the bond goes through the way that the citizen said. That's an agenda, right? I mean, whether we want to use that term or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would like to make sure we still have quality teachers. I'd like to do something to incentivize our teachers. I don't know what that looks like yet. We've been tossing up rounds of different creative ideas, right? Because I'll be honest, as soon as we approve teacher pay, all the other school districts see it, and they'll either match it or bump it up. So teacher pay might not be the right way to incentivize our teachers. It might be something special. I mean, everyone knows that we did a $5,000 Christmas bonus last year. Don't know if in the budget that'll be realistic to keep in the budget every year. But I think that there's some creative things we can do because our teachers are valuable and we want to keep them here. And so that's one thing that I would like to see. I want to just make sure that the culture stays in Whitesboro. I love that we have hashtag Team Whitesboro because that's what we are. Harper does his hashtag every year, where last year was epic. Every person impacts culture. And I do believe that's true. And so I just want to make sure that our school district stays this great school district that it is, but also the CTE wing. Let's do something to build up our students so they can leave the school and maybe not go to college, right? That's not realistic for all of our students.
Yeah.
And they can go off and have a great career right here in our community. So those are some of my things that I really want to just be part of. And Whitesboro's my heart. I love Whitesboro. Whitesboro's home. So
I like that. This has been a pleasure to get to know you better and to spend this time so that the community gets to see a different side of you than they might see when they're hanging out at the Christmas event and wandering around. You're serving popcorn or whatever you're doing. Last year you were helping people on the carriage.
The horse,
is that right?
Yeah, the carriage was my area last year.
Yeah.
So
it is a wonderful event, isn't it?
I love that event. Yeah.
And
I love to serve.
Yeah.
I do. Yep.
I think that that's one thing that all of y'all have said is that there's a lot of good people running this year.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
And there's a lot of great people already on the board.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We have a great board. And we bring different aspects and, every one of us has our unique, assets that we're bringing to the board right now. And so it's really great. We're a great team right now. I do feel that way right now.
I think we're going to continue to succeed regardless of how this election turns out.
Yes.
Which is a great place to be in.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody that's come in, I wish you the best of luck in this election.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you being willing to serve and also to come here and hang out with me and us so we can get to know you better and where you're coming from and all of that.
Yeah, love it. Early voting starts April 22nd.
That's right. That's next Monday.
Yes.
This coming Monday. Yes.
Yes.
4 days from now. So these
Already.
these are, by the time that y'all see this, early voting will have already started, but there will be plenty of time left. And Election Day is May 3rd. You can vote at City Hall in Whitesboro. One way or the other, vote and make your voice heard. And if you don't know whether you're registered to vote, that's your problem. You should have figured that out by now. Let's be honest.
Right.
Either way, thanks for being here, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, this was
We
fun.
might have to do a 2.0.
We will.
Right.
And we'll talk more about Michigan because
Okay.
this is fascinating to me. And this bar thing.
Right.
Yeah. I got to get you to make me a drink.
Right.
All right. All right. I'll talk. Thank you guys for joining me on another edition of Life in the Borough. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.